Every spring, we eagerly await the return of the cuckoo. Its song is perhaps one of the most recognisable and welcomed bird sounds in the UK. It is also incredibly well known, so there should be no problem, surely. But let's think about that famous song. There is traditionally a rush to be the first to hear cuckoo in the spring. Reports come in January, February and March, but the very earliest birds arrive in the country in April, with most appearing from the second week onwards. Over-eager listeners in spring mistake other birds' distant calls or songs for that of the cuckoo. The most likely culprit is collared dove, a species that nests and sings throughout the year, including in late winter and early spring. Its soft cuckoo has 3 syllables, but the stress is on the second one, meaning the first can be missed. Then indeed you will hear cuckoo. Collared dove's song, however, does not carry far, and it is soft and burry. Cuckoo song, on the other hand, is far carrying and much clearer. Distantly heard birds, however, could lead to confusion, and it is familiarity with the tones and stress of the species that will allow you to pick out cuckoo with confidence. Strangely, the less familiar female call is most unlikely to be confused with anything else. It is a bubbling, mad-sounding chuckle. Although, if it's a sound you don't know, it can surprise you. Despite being such a well-known bird with such a familiar song, cuckoos are elusive and rarely seen. When was the last time you saw a cuckoo? Again, when seen, they should be readily identifiable, but they frequently confuse. Cuckoos occur in a relatively wide range of sites across the whole of Britain and Ireland, with numbers highest in upland and marginal habitats. Densities are lowest in eastern Ireland and heavily built-up areas. When encountered perched, cuckoos should be easy to identify. They are large birds with a body size larger than a collared dove, closer to stock dove, but with a slighter build. They are elongated with a long tail, and they often perch characteristically with their wings drooped and the tail raised. Most adults are pale grey, pretty plain above and white below the grey head and chest, with fine dark grey barring, which will only be visible in close views. The primaries and tail feathers are a darker grey, and you may be able to see some small white spots or checkering on these feathers. The legs are very short and the undertail covert's white. The females may have some buff or brown feathering, particularly on the throat and chest, although this will be barely noticeable unless seen closely. A small proportion of females have a very different colouring, being rufous red, paler below, with heavy black markings on body, tail and back. The juveniles are also heavily marked, either dark brown or rufus brown, with black markings and pale or white edges to the feathers. All juveniles, regardless of ground colour, show a large white patch on the back of the nape. Recently fledged birds are noisy and will be attended by their hosts, often meadow pipit, reed warbler or dunnock. It is when seen in flight that cuckoo can give the most confusion. They can appear very raptor-like, leading to potential mistaken identity as any of the grey-backed birds of prey. Merlin, hobby, even peregrine, and also, occasionally, sparrowhawk. In fact, there is evidence that cuckoo's similarity to raptors is intentional, helping the females to locate the nests of suitable hosts as they emerge to mob the perceived predator. So how can we separate this mimic? At times it can be hard, but cuckoos usually fly with shallow wing beats, barely raising their wings above the horizontal. This makes their flight appear tiring, rather than raptors' more elastic economic flight. Cuckoos often fly with pointed wings, but their long graduated tail makes the silhouette wrong for a falcon. If the cuckoo's wings are spread, as they sometimes are, there is much more chance of confusion with sparrowhawk, but cuckoo's small and weak head and beak should clinch the ID. Don't be worried if one does catch you out, however. It was believed for many years that the reason cuckoos vanished in winter was because they turned into sparrowhawks outside of the breeding season.